Hello, I'm Dov Ben-Shimon, and I'm the CEO of our Jewish Federation of Greater Metro West. It's my pleasure and privilege on this Thanksgiving morning to share with you a few words about this week's Torah portion, Toldot. Toldot, Generations, is filled with some of the core origins of the Jewish people. The birth of Esau and Jacob, the birthright of Isaac, and so much more. But there's one piece that just fascinates me. It's when Isaac blesses Jacob. Isaac asks his son to come closer so he can kiss him. And there's a beautiful line in the Tanakh where Isaac says, Reach b'ni kereach sadeh asher biracho Adonai. The smell of my son is like the smell of a field blessed by God. It's a beautiful metaphor. In Ta'anit, in the Babylonian Talmud, Rav Yehuda, son of Shmuel bar Shilat, says that Jacob smells like a field of apple trees, kereach sadeh shel tapuchim. And when I read this piece, I immediately thought of two things. I thought of holding my kids when they were born and smelling their heads. And what an amazing, beautiful smell that was. It turns out that there's a whole science behind the smell of newborn babies. It's not just baby powder and scented wipes. It's also an evolutionary instinct for parents to instinctively feel pleasure when they care for their newborn kids. It offsets our exhaustion and keeps us going. But second, I thought about my grandmother, who died over 30 years ago. I bet this has happened to you too. I was walking in a supermarket a while ago and a lovely lady walked past me, and suddenly I smelled her perfume, and she had the same perfume as my grandmother. 35 years later, I could still immediately recognize that smell. I hadn't smelled it for 35 years, but I immediately knew what it was, and I immediately remembered my grandma. I bet that's happened to you too. When God creates humans, He breathes life into them. V'yipach ba'apav nishmat chayim. The Hebrew for breath, neshima, is the same word as the word for soul, neshama. When we breathe, we're not just using the physical worlds of touch and taste, of vision and sound. It's something much deeper, much more connected in some ways to our soul. Think of the spices used in our traditions, the Havdalah service, the smells of our tradition, our homes, our food. For many years, I would visit the homes of elderly clients of our partner agency, JDC, whose lives are saved and improved and touched by the incredible Chesed system. Every day, thanks to our Jewish Federation's United Jewish Appeal, tens of thousands of Holocaust survivors and other Jewish elderly receive food and medicine and home care from a vast group of dedicated Jewish community professionals and volunteers, sometimes at great personal risk in war zones and terrible hardships. This photo behind me is from a Chesed mobile, a food delivery to a Jewish community in Siberia stuck in the snow around 1923. And I would visit these homes in the Stalinkas and Brezhnevkas, these ugly old buildings, and so many times I would walk into an apartment and smell this beautiful smell. The smell was of rose perfume, Krasnaya Moskva, red Moscow perfume. It was pretty much the only perfume you could buy in much of the Soviet Union from the Civil War, 1919, to the height of perestroika and glasnost around 1986-87. So everybody's mom, everybody's grandma, everybody's neighbor smelled like Krasnaya Moskva. And nearly every time I speak to a group, a Jewish group here in Greater Metro West, here in our diverse, inspiring community of American Jews, immigrants and native born, I take out a bottle that I bought in Moscow as a souvenir and let people smell it, and someone will start crying. Someone in the group will say, that's my grandma, that's my mother. I am deeply connected to this story. This is my heritage. That's what I thought when I read the story of Yaakov and Isaac. That's my heritage. I am deeply connected to this story. I think you may be too. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving and Shabbat Shalom.